So we're going to be covering a bunch of new combos with the new branded cards that we got in the new selection pack. Specifically, a lot of these combos will involve Guiding Quem and what Guiding Quem adds to our combo lines. Now, this is going to be a video focused on the non-Gimmick Public Lock combos. If you want a combo guide on how to do the Gimmick Public Lock, I have another video I made covering those combos, and I'll link that in the description, and I'll put it as a card on the screen here as well, so you can easily click that. And the first combo we're going to do is, it's just going to be simple, normal summon Aluber. One card Aluber. So we have Foolish Burial, so Foolish Burial can dump Tragedy, and this will get us our Aluber this way. Okay, and imagine the rest of the 4 cards in hand are just blanks, and they don't matter. So, normal summon Aluber, and you're going to add Brand Fusion. And you're going to use Branded Fusion to make Albion by dumping Lubellion and Albaz. That's going to trigger Albion. You're going to make Lubellion the Syrian Dragon by banishing Fallen of Albaz and the Aluber on field. And this Lubellion, you're going to just pitch a random card in hand and make Mirror Jade using Lubellion plus the Fallen of Albaz. And now you're going to use Bestial Lubellion to sack the Albion, special summon itself, and the Bestial Lubellion is going to place Branded Lost in the field. Now, prior to the selection pack, this would be where your combo ends if it was just Aluber. You have no more real extension if the cards in your hand were blanks, so you would just have a Mirror Jade and you would have a search for a Branded Spell Trap with Albion. Now, with new selection pack, we can actually do a play that extends further. If you want to use another discard in your hand so that you use 2 discards during your combo instead of 1, you could extend to get a ton more interruptions than just what you see on board. So we're going to go into the end phase, aka main phase 3 for Branded Despia. And in end phase, Albion is going to trigger. And you're going to get Brand opening. You're not going to get Brand in red. You're going to get Brand in opening. And you're not going to set it, you're going to add it to hand. So that in the end phase, you use Brand opening and you're going to pitch another blank card in hand. And special summon Guiding Quem. On summon Guiding Quem is going to dump Blazing Cartesia. Now, still in the end phase, you're going to use Mirror Jade's effect. And you can send either Sprint, Brigand, or Titaniclad. What you send doesn't really matter. It's just so you want to send one of these 3 because this will add a Fallen of Albaz to your hand. So send Titaniclad and then banish Bestial Lubellion. This will trigger Quem when a extra deck or when a monster leaves the extra deck while you control this card. You can target a Fallen of Albaz or a monster that mentions it and special summon it. So with Quem, you're going to revive the Blazing Cartesia that you just dumped with it. And next, Titaniclad is going to trigger. And Titaniclad, you're going to add a Fallen of Albaz to your hand. Or you can special summon. Doesn't matter where you want to put it. You'll see in a bit. Now you've passed priority to your opponent. So now, when they activate a card and you pass priority back to you, and you get an opportunity to use Blazing Cartesia. That's Rick opponent's going ham here. Okay, so as soon as you get an opportunity to activate Blazing Cartesia, you can use Blazing Cartesia's effect to fuse into a Drago Stapelia using the spent Mirror Jade and the Fallen of Albaz. And now, since you fusion summon, you can trigger Brand and Lost, and because an extra deck monster left the field again, while you control Guiding Quem, you can trigger Guiding Quem's effect. And Guiding Quem, you know what card has Fallen Velbats in its text? That's right, Mirror Jade. So Guiding Quem just reset your Mirror Jade for you. ad libitum style for free. And you get the Branded Lost search, and Branded Lost will search you your Propagated Mercurial just as an extra monster negate. And Guiding Quem will revive Mirror Jade. And now your Mirror Jade's all nice and refreshed. So this Mirror Jade that you just got back for free, it will dump Rinbrum, the Striking Dragon, and banish one of your opponent's monsters. And after you send Rinbrum, because you fuse the Fallen Valbass in hand that you search in the end phase, you can now use Rinbrum's effect to revive the Fallen Valbass. And then the Fallen Valbass that you summon gets to fuse one of your opponent's monsters during your opponent's turn. So Fallen Valbass will pitch another card, and then you can fuse with your opponent's monster again. So that one Aluber got you a Dragos Apelia, a Mirror Jade effect, and a Rinbrum to summon back the Fallen Valbass to get another interruption on your opponent's turn with fusion, and with Branded Lost you search your Mercurial. So one Aluber, 4 interruptions. That obviously went much harder than what it would have previously, with just ending on Mirror Jade, Bestial Lubellion pass. And that's just one example of what having Guiding Quem in your toolbox allows you to do with this deck. This isn't the only way you can do this combo. You can freestyle. There's many branching paths you can do, and many ways you can take advantage of this card. And I just showed you one line. There are plenty of others you can do, and feel free to share the lines that you came up with in the comments. This is how I learned a lot of these lines too, not just from watching videos, but from just all people sharing all their laughed out combos in the comment section too. Alright, so this combo is going to be a different iteration of the last one we did, where instead of just opening Aluber or just opening one Spriggan's Kid, that also works. Instead, it's going to be just one Brand Infusion. And you might be wondering, well, what do you mean just Brand Infusion? Where's the Brand Infusion? On the Brand Infusion is right here actually. Fusion deployment for Cartesia. And then you're going to use Cartesia. Because you have Bestial Saronir in hand, you can make Grand Guignol with the Saronir. And then trigger both Saronir and Grand Guignol. So Saronir is going to dump a Branded Retribution, and Grand Guignol is going to dump Albion, the Shrouded Dragon. And you're going to use Albion, the Shrouded Dragon, to dump Branded Fusion. And then Retribution can add back to Branded Fusion. And so there's your Branded Fusion access. And this is going to be the more common way you access Branded Fusion without Aluber, as opposed to just hard drawing Branded Fusion, because unfortunately Branded Fusion is at 1 to Master Duel, so the chance of just hard drawing Branded Fusion and nothing else is a lot less likely than drawing a combination with Cartesia allows you to search for it. So you're gonna activate Branded Fusion, and this time you're gonna make Bestial Lubellion and dump Despia and Tragedy and Fallen Valbass. Then Lubellion is gonna pitch a random card. Again, we're not doing the public lock, so we're gonna ignore this card exists, and we're just gonna be a blank card that we just ditch into the ether and forget about. And then we're gonna use Despia and Tragedy to add an Aluber to hand. And make Mirror Jade with Lubellion plus Albass. Now you're gonna normal summon Aluber, and Aluber is gonna search you your brand opening. Okay, so we already have brand opening in hand, but just know that you're gonna search brand opening just like you did in the last combo, and then you're gonna use opening, and you're gonna pitch another blank card. So we'll pitch a second opening just to show that you didn't need it, and then summon Guiding Quem. And Guiding Quem, the best target to dump with Quem in this scenario is still Cartesia. I know we have a Cartesia engraved, but by dumping Cartesia with Quem, this allows us to add back the Cartesia, one Cartesia to hand for follow-up, while summoning the other one to our opponent's field too. So it's still good to dump that. Then you're gonna use Mirror Jade, and you're gonna send a. Again, you can send one of these three. You just want one that's gonna get you your Fallen of Balbas in the end phase. So we're gonna dump Titanic Class since we already accessed Quem, and you're gonna banish the Aluber. That's gonna trigger Quem, and Quem is gonna revive Cartesia. Now move to the end phase, and the second Cartesia we done, we can just add back to our hand as follow up. So we just get a free card out of that anyways. And then Titanic Class is gonna trigger, and you're gonna add Fallen of Balbas. And you're not gonna special summon it. And now this should look familiar to what we did last time. Except we also have a Grand Guignol on top of this. So we're gonna Blazing Cartesia, make Dragostapelia with Mirror Jade and Fallen Balbas. And this is gonna trigger Quem. And Quem is gonna summon back the Mirror Jade. And then Mirror Jade can dump Rinbrim again. Banish your opponent's monster, and then Rinbrim is live. Except this time, instead of the Branded Lost and Search for Cure, we have the Grand Guignol on field. So Grand Guignol has one target that it can special summon from the extra deck, and that is Despia and Luda will live. So if your opponent special activates an effect that special summons a monster, you can banish this Grand Guignol and summon Luda will live. And Luda will live is whenever a card leaves the extra deck, you can basically just negate a face-up card on the field. So you can self-trigger it with Mirror Jade if you want to by just dumping Albas Fusion. That will trigger Despia and Luda will live to negate a card. If your opponent special summons a monster from the extra deck themselves, you know, because why would they dare special summon a monster from their extra deck? That also allows you to negate it with Despia and Luda will live. Alright, so this next combo is going to be when you have a way to summon both Aluber and Quem on the field, obviously before Brand Fusion. So they could be done with just guiding Quem plus Brand Opening, or Aluber plus Brand Opening. So, you know, just normal summon one and special the other with opening. So in this case, we have Quem and Brand Opening. So you can start by normal summoning Quem, and you're gonna dump Cartesia. Next, you're gonna use your opening, and I'll just show that the other cards in our hand can be blanks. So we're gonna dump opening, special Aluber, and then use Aluber's effect. And this is where you would add Brand Fusion. So I'll just add once again another blank to hand. So add Brand Fusion. Okay, you should have Aluber and Guiding Quem on the field now. Now use Brand Fusion to dump, or dumped it, Albion to dump Bishop Lubellion plus Fallen of Balbas. That's gonna trigger Albion, and that's also gonna trigger Quem. So Quem is gonna revive Blazing Cartesia, and Albion is going to use his effect to make Lubellion using Fallen of Balbas plus the Aluber on the field. So Lubellion gets summoned, and then Cartesia gets summoned. Then you're going to use Lubellion's effect, pitch a blank card, not use Cartesia yet, and you're going to make Mirror Jade using Lubellion and the Fallen Balbas. Now you're going to use Bishop Lubellion to sack the Albion, and then Bishop Lubellion is going to place Branded Lost on your field. Next, you're going to use Cartesia's effect to make a Grand Guignol using the Bishop Lubellion and Cartesia. And Grand Guignol, you're going to get Grand Guignol's effect, and you're going to get Branded Lost effect. So here, Branded Lost, we're not going to add them here straight away, we're actually going to add Albion the Shrouded Dragon, and then Grand Guignol is going to dump and ad lib them. as your branded and red target. And next you're gonna use Albion, and you're gonna send a Fallen of Albaz to the grave, just to have it there, and then draw an Ash. Nice. Now we move on to the end phase, and Albion is going to trigger to set a branded in red. And I'm actually gonna leave Cartesia in the grave because Cartesia is possible. It's one of the better things you can revive off of Guiding Quem. You can add it to your hand, but then if you add Guiding Quem to your hand, you have more limited options of what you can, if you add Cartesia back to hand, you have limited options of what you can revive Guiding Quem. So I just like keeping it there. And now you have a live Mirror Jade, a Grand Guignol, an Ad Libitum Engrave, branded in red, and a Quem. So this is like, I can't even count how many interruptions this actually is. It's too much to count. Come on, Sylvan player. Okay. Oh no, my Mirror Jade. Oh no, what will happen to it? Okay, come on, man. Come on, okay. Okay, so Albion. So my Mirror Jade died. They actually tributed my Mirror Jade, but it's fine. I can still get it back with Branded in red using Ad Libitum, and we're gonna make your Guardian Chimera, and I'm gonna just use the Grand Guignol with Ad Libitum. And we'll use the Ash in hand, sure. That's gonna trigger Guardian Chimera, and that's gonna trigger Ad Libitum to revive Mirror Jade, and that's gonna trigger Quem to revive Cartesia, and that's gonna trigger Branded Lost, and Branded Lost will add a copy of Mercurier to hand. So there's your other monster negate. Quem revives Blazing Cartesia. There's a fusion on your opponent's turn. Mirror Jade comes back after they tributed it. Oh no, what happened? And now it's back, and now your Mercurier is live, and you get to pop card with the Guardian Chimera. And now let's see what your opponent does. So there you go, set a monster. Okay, so now Mirror Jade, you can send Rimbrum to banish a monster. And now you have Cartesia as well, so Cartesia can fusion summon. You can make Dragospila with the Guardian Chimera you just made and any dark monster. So you can even, if the Mercurier is not used to you, you can just sack it. You can actually use it to make a Dragostapelia with the Guardian Chimera. Although I don't know why you would want to do that, since that's just trading a negate for a negate. But you know, if you have any other dark monster in your hand that you have Guardian Chimera, you can now make a Dragostapelia too. And because what dark monster happens to be tragedy, you get the tragedy add back. And your opponent has even more extension beyond that. You have the Rimbrum Engrave, and Rimbrum can special summon back to Albaz. The fusion summon again on your opponent's turn, if they had another monster, which appears that they did not. Now, how many interruptions is that? I don't know. I lost count about like 2 minutes ago, because realistically, if I was playing this game on a ladder, I would be down to like under 100 seconds, because of just I used literally like 20 effects on my opponent's turn, and I played more on my opponent's turn than I did on my own turn. And yeah, we're gonna go somewhere between like 6 to 7 or something interruptions right there, with Aluber plus brand opening, or Quem plus branded opening. So this combo is gonna be with Cartesia and Aluber. In this case, either Cartesia plus brand opening or fusion deployment for the Cartesia plus the Aluber itself. Either way, this is a classic combo, and I'll be real with you. If you were running the Gimmick Public in your deck, I would just go for the Gimmick Public lot with this hand instead. It's a much more direct way to just win the game when you're going first and you resolve your combo. But if you're not running Gimmick Public in your deck, here's something you would do. So normal Cartesia, and then brand opening. We'll pitch another random card to get Aluber. special summon this plays around Imperm, since you can always just chain Cartesia to dodge. And then you use your Aluber to get your Brand Fusion. Next, you're gonna Brand Fusion and go for Albion by dumping Lubellion and Albaz. And then trigger Albion, banishing the Fallen of Albaz. We're going for Lubellion by banishing the Fallen of Albaz plus the Aluber. Then you'll ditch another card off Lubellion and make your Mirror Jade with Lubellion and Albaz. Next, special back Lubellion, sacking the Albion, and place Branded Lost on your field. Now use Blazing Cartesia to make a Grand Guignol with itself and the Lubellion on field. And then trigger Grand Guignol and Lost. So here, if you were doing the Gimmick Puppet lock, here's where Grand Guignol would just send the Gimmick Puppet. But we're doing something different, so instead, here you would add Albion the Shrouded Dragon, if I didn't already have it. Since I already have this, I'll just add like a random blank card to my hand. Such as another Fallen Albaz, just to show that you would search Albion in this case. And then you would dump your Ad Libitum. And then use Albion the Shroud Dragon and send another Fallen of Albaz. This is to draw a card. This is so you get the Fallen of Albaz. And oh, we drew ran High Spirit. You could use this to extend too. This you can use this to dump another Fallen of Albaz fusion and get Mercury to hand directly. But we'll just pretend that these two cards left in our hand are just blanks, like Double Ash, for example. Now, this is the most high roll combo, so you could have also added Mercury directly off Lost, but adding Albion to send Fallen Albaz gets you one more interruption in the end. So we'll go end phase, and then we'll use Albion, and you can set your brand in red. And then you can add your Cartesia back to hand. And now you can pass this to your opponent's turn, and here's where all the interruptions come in. Okay, so Mount Sylvania, blah blah blah. Summon a monster, Sylvan. Okay, so they played a monster. Now you can use Mirror Jade, sending Rinbrum the Striking Dragon, which will banish a monster they have. Then you have the Branded in red, so you can flip up Brand in red too. To target the Ad Libitum you dumped earlier. And then you can make a Guardian Chimera with the Mirror Jade and the Ad Libitum and another monster in hand. You will guarantee to have a monster since you added Blazing Cartesia back. So you can always Guardian Chimera for either 1 or 2 cards. And that will trigger the Guardian Chimera, and the Ad Libitum will summon back the Mirror Jade. And Branded Lost will trigger. And here you can add your Mercurier now. So you still get the Mercurier during your opponent's turn as interruption. You get the Mirror Jade back, which resets it. Then the Guardian Chimera pop. And draw 2 cards, nice. Then you also have access to Rinbrum the Striking Dragon engraved, since you dumped Fallen of Albaz earlier with the Albion the Shroud Dragon. Your opponent has another monster. You can then Rinbrum, target Fallen of Albaz, and special Fallen of Albaz. And then you can fuse with your opponent's monster again, so that's another 4th interruption. And finally, if they dare special summon a monster, you can tag out Grand Guignol into Lulu Willilith. And Lulu Willilith is just another negate. if a monster leaves the extra deck. So, for example, you can just trigger yourself by using Mirror Jade. You can also, if your opponent special summons a card from the extra deck, you know, they dare touch their extra deck and use and summon like an extra deck monster, then Lulu Will Live can also trigger to negate a card they control. So all in all, that's like 2 Mirror Jades, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Like that's basically almost 6 interruptions off of those 2 cards, without the Gimmick Puppet. So you don't necessarily need to do the Gimmick Puppet block. It's just that, you know, if you resolve Gimmick Puppet, your win rate goes from like 95 to 96%. So, you know, it is what it is. But this combo still very good without it. Without this card. So this combo we're gonna call Girl Power, or You Go Girl, Slay Queen. This is gonna be, we have Quem and Cartesia. Both, I believe these are the same person, just in different cause. I don't know. Someone explain the lore to me. I didn't get that far into the Albaz lore yet. I don't actually know if these are the same person, but they're both unambiguously females. So all female starter. With this also takes advantage of a often not used mechanic or card interaction in the deck. So you're gonna use Guiding Quem, and Guiding Quem, since you already have Cartesia, you're actually gonna dump Albion the Shadow Dragon. Now you dump this because Albion the Shadow Dragon is considered Fallen of Albaz in the hand or grave. This is one of the few times where this actually matters, because you have Fallen of Albaz in the grave. Now you can special summon the Blazing Cartesia in your hand. And now you use Blazing Cartesia's effect plus the Quem. You can make a Grand Guignol, and Grand Guignol is going to dump a Saronir from your deck. Here, Bestial Saronir, and Saronir is gonna trigger, and that's gonna dump Branded Retribution. Now the Fallen of Albaz that you dump with Quem, quote unquote Fallen of Albaz, which is actually Albion the Shadow Dragon, you can use that to dump Branded Fusion. And then Retribution can add back the Branded Fusion to your hand. So here's yet another way to add Branded Fusion to your hand. You just by having Quem and Cartesia. It also works with the fusion deployments summoning Cartesia. Now that you have Branded Fusion in hand, you already used your normal summon, so it doesn't make sense to go for the line that searches Aluber since you can't summon it anyways. So instead we're just going to do the Lubellion line, or we're going to do the Albion line, sending Bestial Lubellion and Fallen of Albaz for Albion the Branded Dragon. Then trigger Albion, making Lubellion banishing Fallen of Albaz and Saronir. Now I'm gonna pretend this Mercury isn't in my hand. We could banish Mercury too, and that will get you extra value by getting another search, but we'll just keep that in hand for now as an interruption. So banish those two into Lubellion, and Lubellion will pitch a card and make Mirror Jade using Lubellion and Fallen Albaz. And next, Bestial Lubellion is gonna sack Albion, and we're gonna place what's this? Branded Lost face up on the field. And if we didn't already have Branded in red, end phase, you would Albion search Branded in red. And since we already have Branded in red, you can just set any other Branded cards, so we can just, like, search a Branded opening, for example, which gets ad lib with them. So if you already have Branded red, you have by searching Branded opening, you now search ad lib with them to use your Branded red if you wanted to. And you can add Cartesia to hand since we don't have Quem on the field. There's no point keeping it in grave to revive it. And You might be thinking, well, what's your target for branded in red? So here's the thing. Quem, Guiding Quem the Virtuous, it is actually always treated as a Despia card. So it does not have Despia name, but it's treated as a Despia card. That's how you can summon a brand opening. So that means it's a viable target for branded in red. So you can brand in red the Guiding Quem, and then you can use that to fuse. You can choose Dragostepelia or Guardian Chimera. We'll do Guardian Chimera using the Bishop of Belion and the Guiding Quem and the Cartesia that we added back. So you still get a branded in red activation off of this line for a Guardian Chimera, and you get the Branded Lost on your opponent's turn. And Branded Lost, if we didn't already have Mercurial, we would search a Mercurial, and that would be another interruption. So instead, you can just search any old card, such as another copy of Blazing Cartesia, and then Guardian Chimera will trigger, and that's gonna summon Sage Koya. And I'm glad I get to show this, because now, granting y'all, if your opponent decide to special summon a monster, we can summon Despia and Lulu with Lilith. Bam. And yeah, we'll just negate the Sage Koya. I'm not reading that. I forgot what that card does. But yeah, the point is, even Quem and Cartesia is definitely, it's one of the weaker hands in the deck. It, like, don't get it twisted, it is one of the weaker hands. You can see we didn't end on as many interruptions as the previous insane combos, but like the last two. But at the end of the day, it's still a Mirror Jade banish, it's still a brand red activation, and it's a Mercurial in hand. And yeah, it's I mean, it's pretty good, because before this, obviously, if you didn't have Guiding Quem and you just had a full handful of Cartesias, you would literally end on nothing. So this is way better than nothing. So Nadir Servant is a broken card with the new support. One Nadir Servant is basically almost gets you as far as just resolving Brand Fusion itself. If you saw my other combo video with the Gimmick Public Lock, one Nadir Servant is straight up the Gimmick Public Lock. And your opponent only has one Ash, so feel free to Ash Brand Fusion, but if I have Nadir Servant on top of that and activate it, you're gonna be tight. So if you don't want to Gimmick Public Lock with Nadir Servant, here's something you would do. Nadir Servant, you're gonna send Pride Brigade Arms, Bucephalus II, and add Dogmatica Maximus, and the Bucephalus effect is gonna trigger, and it's gonna send Rigram to the grave. Now, special summon Maximus, banishing the Bucephalus, and you're gonna use Maximus effect. No deck is gonna plus as much as you do off Maximus besides the mirror match. So you're gonna send a copy of Titaniclad, and you're gonna send a copy of Sprint the Iron Dash Dragon. And our opponent's gonna send 2 copies of Oria the Sylvan High Arbiter. Thank you, Rika AI. And that's it. That's all. That's all you need to do for your main phase. These 4 cards in hand, they don't matter. You could have Brand Fusion, they could have Ashed it. You really just don't care. Toggle on, move on to main phase 3, aka the end phase. Now you're gonna get a few triggers. So you're gonna trigger Titaniclad the Ashen Dragon. That's gonna summon Quem from your deck. And Quem is gonna dump a Cartesia. Next, you're gonna bring around the Glory Dragon. It's gonna add a copy of Fallen of Albast to hand. Then third trigger, Sprint the Iron Dash Dragon. It's gonna summon Spriggan's Kit from your deck. Activate Kit to add Brandon High Spirits to hand, and put back any random card. Goodbye, Brand Fusion, we never needed you. Then the end phase, activate Brandon High Spirits, ditching the Fallen of Albaz that you just added to send Albion the Shrouded Dragon, Albion the Branded Dragon. Then discard the Albaz and add a Mercurial to hand. This is going to trigger Quem because that card left the extra deck, and Quem is going to summon Cartesia back. Finally, you get the Albion effect. It's going to set Brandon in red, and here's what you do. Through an Ash Blossom on our Brandon Fusion, we end on this board. Now in the draw phase, you can activate Brandon in red, targeting the Albaz that you just sent, And you're gonna make the Belion the Syrian Dragon using Albas plus the kit on field. And you're gonna use the Belion effect, pitch a card, and you're gonna make Mirror Jade. Using Albas, you can recycle any single one of these monsters if you want instead of the Lubellion, or you can just choose to recycle the Lubellion. It's up to you which one you want back in the extra deck. So there's your Mirror Jade, and now you're in Mercurial side. Now you have live Mirror Jade and Mercurial, 2 interruptions right there, and you have a Blazing Cartesia on the field. So if Cartesia, okay, our opponent summons a monster, you can use a Mirror Jade for example. Let's send another Albion for follow up, and there goes their monster. Next, you can use Blazing Cartesia's effect. You can, if you have another dark monster, you can make Drago Stapelia with Mirror Jade, or you can just make a Grand Guignol using Cartesia and Mirror Jade. So summon Grand Guignol. That's gonna trigger Quem. Now that a monster left the extra deck, you can summon back the Mirror Jade, so you just reset your Mirror Jade the same way you would reset it with Ad Libitum, except you reset it with Quem now. Then Grand Guignol can trigger, and it can, honestly, what it dumps doesn't matter. You can just dump anything, or like add for like follow up, you know, the Belion, Saronir, Albion, Ad Libitum. We'll just get rid of the Gimmick Hub for BM just to show we don't need anything. And then the Mirror Jade comes back, and the Mirror Jade is refreshed and ready to go again to banish another card. And if your opponent special summons a monster, Grand Guignol will tag out and go into Despia and Ludo with Lilith. And that's just another form of negate. Which is up to, once again, 4 interruptions off of just Nadir Servant. You get dual Mirror Jade uses, a fusion off Blazing Cartesia, and a Tri-Brigade Mercurial in hand. After they asked Brand Infusion, by the way, our hand was Brand Infusion to Nadir Servant. They asked the Brand Infusion, that's why we didn't play it, you know. And we still ended on this. Oh, and we could have also chose to give a public lock if we really wanted to. Go check out that video on how to do so. So here is what a sample decklist will look like. This is not a finalized decklist. This is not going to be my final build of a deck either. This is just a very streamlined build running the minimal amount of engine that I believe is required for the deck. Which is, let's go over the 1 Despian Strategy as something to Foolish or Gold Star to add your Aluber, and also as a Brand Infusion line for the Belion. We have the Triple Fallen Valbas. Triple Fallen Valbas is fantastic. If you saw in the combo lines, a lot of our combos involve searching Fallen Valbas. If we just hard open Fallen Valbas, we don't need to do any of that. We can skip that BS. Because you can search more useful cards. You can also make cards like Brand Red Live Eat much easier, since you can just discard the Fallen Valbas. It plays through Bystials, by the way. If they try to Bystial your Albion to try to make it fizzle, hard drawing the second Fallen Valbas just completely beats that play, beats the Bystial on you. So yeah, definitely run Fallen Valbas, and it's even a good fusion deployment target. And it's not even like it's never a brick unless your hand was already unplayable, in which case whatever you replace with the Fallen Velvas likely wouldn't have unbricked you either. Then the 2 Alibers, obviously. The 1 Tri-Brigade Mercurial, you can run 2. You have to run at least 1, and by running 1, you can mitigate not having the second one by just not going for the Rim line, where you go Fusion, Brand Fusion for Rim then banish it with a Bystial. Instead, you just go for the Albion line, sending Bystial Lubellion more often. That way, you never lose your 1 Mercurial from circulation, because you can always add it as an interruption later just by altering your combo line. The kit, its consistency, which the deck needs because Brand Fusion is 1, and it's also required for the Brand and High Spirits line, as you saw in the combos with Sprint. Double Cartesia, I've bundled up to 2. Everyone's been playing 2 Cartesia since the release of Quem and the new support, so I figured Might put 2. Might as well put 2. I have some thoughts about this on the actual number of Cartesia to run, so I'll leave that towards the end. You need at least 1 guiding Quem. This, even just at 1, you can just access it during your combo lines, and then it just opens up so much for your combos. 1 Saronir and 1 Belion. This is the minimum amount of Bestials you can run and still do the Albion line, and you need 1 Saronir just to combo with Albion, the Shrouded Dragon, for lines where you dump Retribution to search a brand spell trap, such as Brand Infusion or Brand and White if you already have the Brand Infusion, and so on. Right now, I'm iffy on how good Bestials actually are in the meta. If I think they're good, I would run more Saronir, but right now, there's still a lot of matchups like Cash and Hurley and Vanquish Soul, or even Vanadium sometimes, where it's like the Bestials are kind of weird and sometimes they're not all too effective. Although if you just play against Mathmech and Dragon, I would presume that these would be better for you, but your results will vary with how good Bestials are to you this meta, since they're not good against every matchup. Gimmick Puppet is here. Let's move on. The Automatica Maximus for your Nadir Servant play, the high roll Nadir Servant play. You need the 1 Albion, 1 Ad Libitum. I would say you actually don't need both Gimmick Puppet Nightmare and Ad Libitum, because usually you're just going to decide on one or the other. By going for one line, you exclude going for the other line, because you're either going to brand in red for your Ad Libitum, or you're going to brand in red to make Albion the Sanctifier Dragon, which is your way to make Gimmick Puppet Nightmare. So you probably, if you really wanted to cut and even more cards, you could cut one of these two depending on which line you go for. Then the Foolish Burial and Sharp Skull Striker, necessary consistency. Choosing deployments, necessary consistency for Cartesia, especially since Cartesia has more lines now opening up with Quem. Triple Nadir Servant, the best way to beat Ashe in the deck. Called by the Grave and cross out the second and third best ways to beat Ashe in the deck. Follow Brand and White, just as another utility. It doesn't come up as much if you don't do the Rinbrim lines, because that's the one line where you actually need to search Brand and White. But it's just like a nice card to have. Occasionally, it lets you play through Ashe when you can already have Mercurial in hand, and you can just make Albas Fusion first before using Brand Fusion, which admittedly doesn't come up as much in Master Duel because Brand Fusion is limited, so you have to use a search on Brand Fusion most of the time. But it's just still a worthwhile card worth running in my opinion now. 1 Brand Lost, obviously the 2 opening because we only have 2. The High Spirits in red as the search targets, and the 1 Retribution as a combo, and Retribution can be used as an interruption as well to search for it. The extra deck, so the necessary cards are the double Albion. Probably at this point, double Mirror Jade is probably needed. The Grand Guignol, the Bellion, 1 Rinbrim, and Albion the Sanctifier Dragon. Even if you're not playing Puppet Lock, this is a way, just the easiest way to beat evenly matched, and this card is hard to beat for some decks. You cannot target this card with card effects, and you can just recur resources back every turn, and it messes with your opponent's graveyard. So against graveyard-based decks, you know, like Tyrman, this is actually a pretty nice card. And then 1 the Guardian Chimera, if you're running Brand Red, especially if you're running Ad Libitum, you need the Guardian Chimera. The Lulu Lilith and Bucephalus, if you're running the Puppet Lock, you need these because of the Nadir Servant, and even without, I would suggest running these because Lulu Lilith is the best summon target off of Grand Guignol. You don't need Despian Corides or Despian Proskenion anymore, since you have this now, which you're always going to summon over those 2. And Sprigran is necessary. Sprint, if you're running the Brand High Spirits line, Sprint is necessary. And then the 2 major flex spots for the deck are Predapan, Dragostapelia, and Titaniclad. So Titaniclad is basically, it just fulfills the purpose of Despian Lulu Lilith in that it summons Quem from the deck. But it's a bit more flexible because in some scenarios you can send Titaniclad using Mirror Jade, whereas Mirror Jade cannot send Lulu Lilith because this does not mention Fallen of Albas. So if you need Quem that way, only Titaniclad works there, and Titaniclad is a way to let you send it's a send off Nadir Servant that isn't Lulu Will Live, so you still have the Lulu Will Live as a special summon target off of Grand Cunal. Although to be honest, that's a pretty niche interaction. If you really want the more extra deck slots, you could cut Titaniclad. Also, Despia. Some people have been running Warlord Furious Dragon instead of Despia. It's usually one or the other if you're strapped for space. Despia is more generic. I would argue that Furious Dragon is actually the more powerful effect, being a quick play pop that you can also protect with branded opening. And the only thing is, it's a bit hard to make, because you saw the lines where I made Despia, I made it with Fallen of Albash plus Mirror Jade, so get the Mirror Jade back into the grave. And obviously, you cannot make Warlord Furious Dragon if you're fusing with Mirror Jade, so that's just something to think about. And obviously, this is just the non-engine, and the rest of the deck and how many cards to run will depend on how you want to tackle the meta. I think Maxi is necessary. I don't think all 3 Ash Blossoms are necessary, especially since this deck can theoretically play it through Maxi, although it would prefer not to, since you saw most of the combo lines are crazy, and reducing it to just one fusion monster feels kind of bad. But some people have been cutting Ash Blossom, or just cutting Ash completely and then cutting the Crossout Designator. And then they've been running a Thrust package. So Thrust, you would be running Thrust, and then you would run targets for Thrust, such as Herald of the Abyss, you know, as just an easy out of early, because this deck does struggle to out a Noir sometimes, or it can struggle to out a Noir. So running Thrust helps that way, and then you can more Thrust targets with stuff like Duster or Evenly and Talons just to cover matchups going second, used as non-engine. And the great thing about Thrust is always engine too. You can always use the grab brand fusion. You can use the grab fusion deployment, or hell, you branded and white even if you already have access to those two. Like, Thrust is very strong in this deck, so you can definitely add Thrust in here to help going second. Also, Super Poly, it's kind of inconsistent. It's like good against some matchups. Like, it's good against the best deck in the format, which is going to be Dragon Link. That's also your hardest matchup, but it's also not so good against other matchups. You know, like Cash Tira. It's quite mediocre. You can use 3 cards to out an Arise Star with Super Poly, yes, but that just does not feel great to do so. It's like super neg, and you gotta use 2 slots in your extra deck. So Titaniclad is probably gone in that case for Garura. Next, and with if you're running Triple Tactics Thrust, you can also run Fusion Duplication, so as yet another way to beat Ash. And I'm gonna do some testing. I'm gonna see which non-engine I like to fill the deck with, and also there's a argument to be made to increase the copies of Cartesia and increase the copies of Quem, because this deck in Master Duel is a lot less consistent than it was in the TCG. With you're missing 1 copy of Aluber, 1 copy of opening, and 2 copies of Brand Fusion relatively. So that's like 4 less starters you have in your deck. And by running more copies of Quem and Cartesia, these are not 1-card starters. However, they are starters with other cards in combination with other 2-card combos. You know, such as Quem and any access to Cartesia itself, as you saw, is a combo. You can run more copies of Saronir. Quem and plus Saronir is a combo. Blazing Cartesia plus Saronir is a combo, or Fusion Deployment Saronir is a combo. So if the deck consistency is also a problem, you can also up the number of cards like Quem and Cartesia, or even Kit if you want. And as you can tell, this deck is, if you try to add more non-engine and you try to increase the engine size, your deck's gonna go above 40 inevitably. So I don't know the exact ratio to run, but it's something to be figured out with more testing, definitely. And go ahead and test it yourself too, as I'm gonna do it at the same time. And finally, if you're watching this video and you want to know how to use this card right here, I made a video on how to do GIMMICK Puppet Nightmare Lock. So go check that out.